everybody? Welcome to Tech Beats and Bytes. Real quick, let's get this out the way before we start our launch. Proudly supported by the Knight Foundation and the world famous House of Mac. So let's do that part.
All right. So that's Mike.
And that's Toya.
And this is Tech Beats and Bytes.
So today we have our special artistic guest. This is the guy that consulted Jay-Z on purchasing his artwork. No, I'm just playing.
Well, technically.
See, this is how the stories start. This is how it all starts. Let's go.
Right, ghettorumors.com.
Actually, I'm going to let you do it, Toya. Won't you just introduce this gentleman?
So I guess he is a gallery owner in Wynwood.
Yes.
He is the host of Art Loft on PBS.
Yes.
He is none other than Jumanne Nanandi. Break it down.
Let's give him a round of applause. Let's give him a round of applause.
All right.
All 400 of y'all came out here to support us. It is so crowded
They got drinks
today.
in the hands.
I know, right? Just out of control. If you just saw the stuff
and
they're doing in the crowd.
And the people at home, we see you.
I know, man.
It's best to give them the messed up part.
What's that?
Everybody watches this show at work. We get our most views during work hours, so we know.
Right around lunchtime.
All of our fans don't work. Y'all be watching Facebook at work.
Well, dig in your purse or your pocket and have that little flask and take a shot. I know you got one.
Take a shot, okay.
Hey, I carried one.
So tell us this story that you was about to get to. Actually, won't you briefly tell the people what you do besides Art Loft? Won't you give them a little bit of history? Treat it like a rapper. You got to get about an inch away from the mic.
On the mic. All right.
We ain't got that kind of money.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you
Am I good? Am I clear?
You can't pay for the good mics. You got to get close.
Yeah, I get close.
Actually, I got a good one, but I still got to get close.
Right. Yeah, yours is different. All right, well, my name is Jumanne Nanandi. I am an art consultant, art dealer, gallery director. I've been doing it for about 20 years now.
Nice.
Yeah, I started back in 97.
That's when I graduated from high school.
Yeah, man.
He's an old head.
I could be your daddy.
Whoa.
Ooh, I'm hot. This is why I'm hot, right? All this conversation. But so yeah, my father, he started back in 81.
In Detroit, right?
In Detroit, yeah. And his whole thing, I'm gonna start there, and then it'll go into why I'm doing.
Because you have deep roots in the art scene.
So deep. Started back in 81 in Detroit. He was a developmental psychologist, and he enjoyed art, but he wasn't necessarily like someone who went to school to study art and things like that. He was studied psychology. He was a professor at U of M. But one thing he realized was that in the African American community in Detroit, that the people didn't seem to have a foundation in their culture. When you talk about African American history and culture, it usually deals with just enslavement. And everything starts like, where are you from? enslavement. Like I was in Cairns once, and the lady said, "Oh, you're African. Oh, you're from slave." And I was like, she wasn't even being rude. She was very nice. She gave me a room she didn't even have. Like, so she was not against me. It was just that's the beginning of the African American culture for most people. That's a narrative. Yeah. So, like other cultures, you go to Paris. First thing you do is you go to the Louvre. You like, okay, I felt their culture. So the French people feel like they have a foundation in something that's bigger than anything that happened in their history. They're dealing with the art and those things as their foundation. So he felt that the African American community really didn't have this kind of foundation in anything that really represented their soul and their art and their being. So he said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open an art gallery so people can start to not only see their art, but collect their art and be a part of the preservation of their culture by collecting it. So when you deal with museums and things like that, they would eventually come to you to see what represents you. For instance, if you go to a museum, all right, you say like when Africans were kidnapped and they came here, right? I'm sure somebody had on some nice jewelry, some nice garments and things like that. We never see that though, because whoever kidnapped them took those jewels, put chains on them, and then when you go to a museum now to see the beginning, you see the chains. But best believe they have the jewels. So when you don't own the art, you don't control how your culture is being perceived.
So the true way of telling your history is controlling the art.
Well, it's through the arts, period. And then it's a matter of who decides who has it. I mean, I went to Egypt trying to find some nice artifacts, and yeah, they got the pyramids, but you really have to go to Europe to see all the
To
art.
artifacts, yeah. It's in their museum.
The things they couldn't move are in Egypt. The things you could move are in Europe.
Yeah, so for the young kids, Egypt is the place where the first emojis came from. I'm sorry. I've been waiting to say that.
Wow.
Trying to find a extra joke on that, but I couldn't.
It's no extra. That's just that's the joke. That's bow. That was it.
That's real, though. It's real. Hieroglyphs to emojis. It's real.
So
when you get deeper into it,
hold on, y'all.
funny.
I'm getting deep right here, okay? You know, the children want to hear more. So basically, so his whole thing was like, look, I'm going to bring these artists in from New York. I'm going to open this gallery, but I'm going to bring abstractionists. Because people always try to assume like anything that's African American art is always figurative. Because people want to see, this looks like my grandmother, it looks like my mama holding me as a baby, stuff like that. But the whole thing was we were originators in that abstract, that art that that spoke to the soul, that displayed your soul.
So you telling us Europe didn't do that either? They stole that part too?
Technically, yeah. Picasso did with the African sculptures, things like that, and that's where evolved from. But I mean, they were inspired.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Greece was inspired by
So the whole
Egypt.
thing was, I mean, because if you go to like the Vatican to see their art collection, it's a lot of sculptures of people. It's just nothing but, you're like, wow, who are all these models? It's nothing but like porcelain sculptures of people's face. So that's a European thing. That's cool. So the whole thing was he wanted people to understand abstract art. So as they were getting into art, they not only were looking for works that were done by African Americans, but they were expanding their view on what art really is and then developing the eye. It's like if you really want to get people all into music and understand the history of music, you want them to understand Miles Davis. You don't want to just say, we're skipping all the way to, whatever.
You know what? That's a great segue. Miles Davis, you're talking about the art of music itself. A lot more history, a lot more understanding. Wasn't really a lot of people for him to duplicate. He kind of developed his own sound.
Right.
Self-Born told me to ask you this. Jay-Z has the lyrics. Bought that a piece of art. It was worth $1 million. Next year it was worth $2 million. Then the next year it was worth $8 million, something like that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
How in the hell do you actually value contemporary art? And I'm gonna ask you why I'm asking this question. You have a lot of us, people in general. They see abstract art, and it was that one. What was the piece like 2 years ago? It was like that big. It's all blue with like a yellow stripe or something like that. It's like just a flat piece, and it sold for like $40 million or something crazy.
Rothko, yeah.
Yeah. How does that piece become worth $40 million? What is the actual? Yeah. You gonna make me exposed? I want to talk about the exposure of Southern
So there's
music
a show
Christians.
called Adam Ruins Everything. Jumanne may not be able to speak on it.
I know that guy, but that's cool.
So how does a piece like that become worth $40 million? Self-Born really wants to know because he's about to start collecting art.
No, well, okay.
We want to know the truth. There's people watching that want to buy art and they really want to know, how does a flat blue piece with a yellow stripe or a yellow square, I forgot how it looks. I can't visually see it right now.
Because there's this thought that there is like this group of people who sort of like hike up the value of art in order to boost their own pockets.
Kind of how they dicked over John Michael Basquiat, but you can tell us about that later in the conversation.
There's a combination of both.
Okay, tell us. We're taking notes.
Now,
here you go, guys. This is how you collect art.
I'm not necessarily.
Don't mess up.
I'm not necessarily saying that Rothko, that exact piece was worth $40 million, but that's me. Now, whoever bought it for $40 million, that means somebody else was ready to buy it for $39. Okay, it wasn't like they just put a price on it and then he said, "I'll do 45."
So it's the auction process.
The auction builds it up. Now, we're going to get into that. There's a couple different
we
answers.
We only got 15 minutes. You have to help us.
All right, let me know, because then I can skip around real fast.
Yeah, you got to get us there.
So what happens is this. First of all, you got to understand certain artists are in museums, some artists are not. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of that has to do with who is really inventing art, who is changing the way you see things. So you go to a museum, like you talk about the Rothko, you say, it's just something blue with a yellow thing, right? Yeah, but now you can imagine something blue with a yellow thing.
Yeah, it's called a street. Black.
Hey, but that has expanded your idea what's possible through art. Like, I'll give you an example. We have an artist, Ed Clark, okay? He's about 92 years old.
You collect a lot of his work, right? You have a lot of his work.
Yep. Now, the thing, and matter of fact, that Rothko guy just bought a lot of Ed Clarks. Didn't pay a lot of money at all.
Ed Clark.
Of course. Ed,
That's for the
CLARKE.
TV. Like, did not pay any money at all.
It's with an E, right? Clark with an E? Oh, okay.
But the whole thing is this. Ed Clark, he did the first shape canvas. So you go to a museum, you see something's all funky and different shape. No one did that before 56. So you could look at it and say, well, why is this piece that has a little extra edge on it so much money or so important? It's like, because before that, people just thought something had to be square or an oval. So it's about changing your idea of art, because people can always look at something and then pull back and make it pretty that's clear to the common person, and then sell it. So when you talk about Miles Davis, if you turned on some music right now about Miles, most of the stuff we'll just say, what is that? What is he talking about? He just sounds like going, blah, 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 blah. I did that as a kid. Blah, 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 thinking I'm sounding like Miles Davis, but I'm not. But it let me know the possibilities of what I can do with these notes that he then took and then mixed them all up and made his own sound.
So it's about pushing the boundaries, expanding the understanding.
Exactly. And that's why certain things, and then see, the whole thing about when you collect art, the people who collect art do not care if you get it or not. Because what happens is you don't know it, but our whole lives are dictated by the arts. So
we know that, because to me, art is just the oldest cryptocurrency. You really can't put the value on it, but there's enough people to control the value.
The people want to, they want to collect art because this world is defined through the arts. So whoever controls and owns the arts, they're controlling and owning all the people. You may not know it, but they're dictating how you look at yourself, how you look at your culture. Think about film. Okay, most people don't think about film as being an art form.
It is.
But when you think about it, okay, you talk about like this guy in Vegas who shot these people, right? But if you went online, it was like some Tinder website or something like that. A girl would say, he's cool before possibly me. Maybe not, but really, because I come with stereotypes, and the stereotypes I come through the arts.
Right, even commercial art.
But the things that he comes with stereotypes that says, I am a wealthy man, I can take care of you, this, that, and the other. Even though he may be crazy and I ain't. Because how we are defined through the arts.
Through art.
Or
think about music.
He might be willing to pay for it and you just got game.
Then that's all stereotypes. That's through the music. Telling you I ain't gonna pay for that.
Right.
I may be like, I was looking for someone to take care of.
So what's the name of that piece again? The blue and yellow piece? What's the
artist?
Yeah. Rothko. What is he telling me through that piece? Self-Born just texted me and told me to ask you that question.
Well, you know what? He's not telling you anything. He's telling you to look at it and decide for yourself what you see.
Your own interpretation.
I mean, you hear a dope beat sometimes, right?
Yeah.
You play a dope beat. What's that beat telling you?
I'm a visual artist. I paint,
Right.
And what I'm worried about is what I see through the exposure through Instagram and all these platforms now. Some forms.
Wait for
what
it.
happens when you record it live, huh?
They late. I cooled off now.
Some forms of art. That was a good one. It seems like we're right on that verge where some art is about to become a gimmick and not as much of a message and actually a true art form.
That's part of the problem now.
A lot of these younger kids I see, they're not studying the things that come before them.
That's part of that. Now that goes into the next kind of touches upon what you were saying as well. But that's part of the problem now. Art is becoming so popular that, now this always happened, but it happened on a smaller scale. It's so popular now that it's really like a double-edged sword. So you got artists who are young and very successful. They can make a living. What that does, though, is it stifles their growth. Because if I paint a picture of, a tree, and then you love the tree, and you buy it, and you want another tree, you buy it, and I'm paying my rent because I'm painting pictures of trees every week, I'm never really getting a chance to explore
to go beyond.
Exactly.
So they're kind of getting the fame too fast, so they're not really learning the craft.
And the fame too fast.
Or even mass production. They're producing the same things.
I see a lot of stuff that looks exactly the same.
Well,
actually, after we went to, I think you went. Didn't you go to Cuba also?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we went to Cuba, I'm not even gonna say their names, but there's about 4 or 5 artists over here. I can see exactly where they stole their style.
Oh yeah, all day. That's what we call that vacation art.
Ooh.
You know, so a lot of people, you know, they come home from different trips and they put something on their wall. And it's cool. You had a good time on vacation. I mean, I've bought a few pieces of vacation art. I don't have it up, but I just bought it. But you got to know what it is. You can buy anything. You can buy commercial art, fine art, vacation art, a poster. As long as you know what it is, then that's fine. So what's happening, though, you got these young artists. They're successful. The older ones are $40 million or $100,000 or whatever it is. So now you get into another group of art collecting that is hype and speculation. That's where the problem comes in because they're giving a lot of these young artists a lot of money way too early for me, just because it's making them feel responsible for whatever they're doing right then. And what I mean by that is that it's making them feel like this is what they do and not this is part of your growth. So I've talked to a lot of young artists who are very successful, and I'm always like, does your gallery let you do whatever you want? And they're like, no, I have to do what I'm doing. Yeah, so they don't understand, like artists are scientists, you know, they're always inventing. So once we try to control how their output, we're slowing down that process. But what happens is they want them, hey, continue that series. When you're done with that series, do this next series. So then they can control the sales so people can say, we had this many of this series. We got these collectors who bought it. This is the price. Now let's move it up a little bit more. Let's sell it for a little bit more money and do this and keep building it. But
so you know Knowledge Bennett, right?
Yeah.
Like, so when Knowledge came out with his series, I guess that was I guess we can call that the Hennessy and Nut Grabbing series, where he had all the people. That was like 2 or 3 years ago.
Right.
I know that was like the most photographed piece during Art Basel as far as like Instagram and stuff.
Right.
What do you tell an artist, like, because I mean, to me, he's a little bit of like an Andy Warhol. It's a print style work.
Right.
What do you tell somebody like Knowledge, and how does a person like Knowledge grow? And second part would be, how's a person know to collect somebody like Knowledge's work before he's already blown up?
Well, all right. And so one thing with Knowledge is that he came to my gallery first, all right? And we talked. And I told him where he should go. He didn't have a place to show in Miami, this and the other. I said, you know, you should go over to this gallery, you know, and you should put your work up there. I think they'll take you, and this and the other. And right after that, he just blew up. The problem with being a good artist is that it's harder to break free from whatever you're doing if it's successful. So someone like Knowledge, you know, if he ever gets the urge to continue to grow and expand or change or whatever he wants to do, he has to know that he's young enough to do it. It don't matter if you're older. You can do it any time. So that's what I would just tell him, like, to make sure he keeps himself free. So, I mean, because technically you don't really make your best work until you're about 60 years old. All right? If you look at, like, great artists who lived a long time, the artist probably, like, just hitting right on the head. They're probably around 60 because by then...
Life experiences?
Yeah, and you're comfortable with what you know. Deep. You're comfortable with what you don't know.
Who you are.
And with what you don't know and who you are.
Yeah.
But you're still young enough that you want to share. You know, you're not like, when you're 80, you're like, it's cool, but I ain't really got time to talk to you. You know what I mean? But 60 is kind of like you hot, you cool, you're comfortable. This is what you do. So I want artists to be able to live that long and see what they have to offer at 60.
Go through the whole arc.
Yeah, because, you know, I tell the young artists, like, yo,
so
you're going to make better
work later.
The art of life. Huh?
The art of life.
Yeah, I mean, it's our life, you know, and they're scientists. So what happens is, you know, younger artists, I tell them, hey, you ain't going to make your best work till you about 60. Some of them get offended. I say, okay, you're making your best work now. So it's going to go down here from now. I mean, is that what you want? I mean.
Right. You want the long view. You want
to always get better.
So you say that, I'm just wondering now, what would his work look like right now?
Who knows? But the thing about Basquiat, the reason Basquiat is kind of like how they control the young artists now, but he was before they could necessarily do it with money.
Right.
So they did it with drugs. So the best thing that ever happened to the art world for particular people was Basquiat dying. That's why, because they can control it. Once he's done painting, they don't have to worry about if what he's going to do next. They don't have to worry about, oh man, he may go off and start making quilts. You know, they like, this is it.
Wow.
We control this now. Now we can control this market.
Wow.
I never looked
Like
at that's
diamonds or
deep.
something, you know, like, oh, we got these diamonds and we got them all in the vault. We
Right.
can
I mean,
put
but
one
if
at a
you
time,
even think
you know.
about music, Prince, Michael, you know what I mean?
Right.
It all just sort of ends, and then now it becomes classics.
It becomes organized.
Right.
Because
And they
the
can
artists,
control it, the flow of it.
Like Damien Hirst, it was, you know, when the economy crashed, you know, he's one of these artists that sells for a lot of money. I mean, millions and millions of dollars. Economy crashed, he put all this stuff in auction. So what happened was now all those people who invested in his work had to go buy his work. Because if they didn't, and they didn't get, and they had to keep the value up, so they were so pissed. Like, man, we got to spend all this money. We trying to like take care of our businesses, get all this other stuff together, and now we got to go protect our value.
Right,
of
the
these
investment.
pieces. Yeah.
Really quick question for you, too, because we were sort of talking about overexposure as well as what's sort of happening with trends. Art Basel. We're on the heels of Basel season.
Yes.
What are your views on Art Basel? A few years ago, not a lot of people knew what Art Basel was. It was mainly on the beach. Now you have it expanding, Art Miami, the whole week. As a gallery director, what are your views on it and the progression of Art Basel in Miami?
Well, first of all, it wears me out. Okay, I'm like super tired to the point like this year I'm like I'm not doing anything. Then you know nothing. Like I just want to. Matter of fact, I got a room on the beach this year. Like I'm kicking it. You know, I'm not even gonna go home. I'm not even gonna work. But of course, not working during Art Basel means just doing a lot of work for a normal day. Mm-hmm. Okay, because normally it's like crazy. I mean, I think Basel's cool just because there could be a whole lot of different kind of festivals, a lot of different things that bring people together. But this is something that is around the arts. It's not around music, which, you know, because usually it's like, okay, we got an art festival. We got to bring music in just because we can't keep people's attention. And I'm always like, people can pay attention to art. Just give them art and test them. See how they respond. Let their ears do the work, you know? So I like it for the fact that it's just like endless art events. And now that it's getting more to the like non-collector, common man, the art enthusiast, the artist, the art just appreciator, you know? I think that's nice just to be in a city that has a festival that's so big around the arts. That's cool to me.
Do you think with the proper data and the proper algorithm, do you think somebody could scientifically predict what kind of art somebody would be looking for to collect?
Well, I did that myself, and I don't know about the data or algorithm, but this takes me, I was in Paris, right? So we're at NYU Paris. So it was a lecture, and this guy was there, you know, old European dude, his purple suit on, looking fly, and they were saying, what do you like, what's the next thing to collect? And he was like, Asian art. And I was sitting there, because he's the one that predicted photography was going to be big. So he said, Asian art. And then I was sitting there, and I'm not on the panel, but I just had to raise my hand. And I was like, let me tell you, this is about 7-8 years ago, maybe a little longer. I said, look, the next thing is going to be African-American art. And everybody turned around and looked at me like, what's he talking about? I said, look, I just left China at that time. And I was like, I'm in China. You go to the airport, you're hearing like SWV and all that. You go to the club, you know, I don't know if it was 2 Chainz, but somebody like that, you know.
Right.
Everywhere you went. I heard songs from Detroit, and I was like, I never even heard this back in Detroit, you know. So I said, no, you got to understand, there might be a lot of people in numbers in Asia, but in terms of the people who are influencing the world,
The culture, tell
it's
them.
not that great.
Do it
not
for
that
the
large.
culture.
So I said, people around the world are following what African American culture is all about.
Yes.
So I said, it just hasn't happened in the visual arts yet, because that's like the holy grail to controlling culture. That's the thing where it's like, once you do that, now you're like, we opened up the floodgates, okay? So I said, look, the next thing is African American art. Now, to this day, if you ask anybody who collects art, what's the hottest art being sold right now is African American art.
So you are the algorithm? That's what we're going to start calling them.
The
now.
algorithm. Now, back to your Jay-Z thing, all right? So
Okay,
I saw him.
Yeah, let's do that before we do your quick 6.
I saw him at Kanye's first Grammy party. And he was a cool guy, chill, you know, just standing next to him. I was like, hey, man, you know, he had the Basquiat already. And I was like, you know, Heard you got the Basquiat. I got some really great artists you should look at. This and the other. He was cool, just listening. Kind of he looked like who is this guy talking about art to me?
Right.
Because no one talks about art, I guess. But I told him some names. You know, we talked, boom, 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 gave him a card. They ain't called me, that's cool. And then I looked up years later, and he bought the artist I was telling him about.
Wow. So you did it.
Well, but
you got the skills.
I just want to know that he remember that name or just got told to him by somebody else.
Either
Probably
way,
somebody
subconscious
else.
or conscious.
It happened.
It's like, if you don't believe me, you know who that
You
is.
started the conversation.
Right.
Right.
All right, so
cool.
we got a
Take
quick
it.
6. You're answering this pretty much with one word or like one sentence. Okay.
All right, here we go.
All right. So the first question is, if you had to pick a song to represent your gallery, what song would that be?
See murder.
Oh, okay.
Respect my come up, survival of the fittest.
Wow.
Yeah.
He just named the whole No Limit track.
I know, that's it.
Right.
All right.
I get pumped up because it tells me.
We got it. We don't question the answers. We just go with
Exactly. When someone walks into your gallery and they're like, how do I pick my piece? What advice do you give them?
one sentence.
Let me see your wall and I'll show you something.
If you had to pick a movie to describe your journey as a collector, what would that movie be?
I feel like I'm gonna come up with one and and then think of another. Life is beautiful.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
What's your main motivator when you wake up in the morning?
Besides your beautiful wife and that beautiful daughter of yours.
And all I can see is that little girl laying on me like, what's my main motivator? Mm-hmm. Walking my dogs. No, probably so though. Honestly,
It's on your top of
I
mind
think
when
you
you wake up, right?
I think you should have went with your daughter.
But it
Look,
lets
you don't
me
want
know
them
the day
pooping
has
in the
begun.
house.
It lets me know the day has begun because that's one
Right.
thing that's gonna, because my wife handles the baby pretty well. Like I can just kind of like be halfway doing stuff, look like I'm busy, but the dogs are like, get
That's
up,
you.
time to rock, let's go. Life has begun. So, yeah.
Self-born, you got one. Quick.
Man, y'all covered everything. I was waiting to see what the rest of the 6 was.
Oh,
gonna
okay.
Yeah, go
So Tori, you want to do one more?
I will. Who's your favorite artist at the moment?
Ooh, yes.
Ooh.
Hey, everybody, write this down, Alicia. We got to go buy this. Go ahead.
Favorite. That's a hard question because you got work you really like and you got people you really like. Not that you don't like the others, but
We need to know
Artists.
the work. We
Go.
need to buy peace. We trying
Okay,
to
that's a
collect-
different question too. My favorite artist was the favorite artist.
Artist and then piece.
Yeah.
My favorite artist is
It's on camera. It will
Gallery
be
director.
streaming live.
Ed
Give it to
Clark.
us.
Ed Clark. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see it. You
Yeah.
had a lot of his work. All right.
That's my main man.
Favorite
he's
piece right now, the go-to piece
For you to collect or for me?
for me to collect.
If you're going to buy something right now as a young artist, young collector, I would say go get a Stephen Arboit. Young cat from Miami.
Oh wow.
Spell it for us. Spell it.
Arboite. Stephen Arboit, young Haitian dude, makes work out of coffee. Very great price, and the work moves forward. The work, you can see the future in the work. That's when I get young artists, I like to see something that just it's not cool or like people buy it, but something I can put next to my Ed Clark and it's holding his own.
And it holds its weight.
And
Wow.
I know that in the future, even if he stopped painting, that piece would always be special.
All right. So, final question for the gallery, for your life. 5 years from now, Miami Herald is writing a story on you. What is the perfect headline? What does it read?
Shit. Is it personal?
It's one headline. It can be personal. It can be business. What's the perfect headline? We got 20
Perfect.
seconds to get this answer out.
He's still the man.
We'll take that. All right. We're going to wrap it up for overtime. We taking that from you, Bill Maher. We're doing
Peace.
overtime
Thank
with Tech Beats and Bytes. But let's give a round of applause to our guest, Jumanne, for coming through and doing this thing.
Thanks for
and
hanging with
educating
us. And the
So,
karaoke king, he hold it down.
yeah,
every,
he has
every
been holding
Monday.
it down.
I've
So
been Shazamming my songs to practice, but I didn't practice, so you might not
we
get
still
one
going
of
to
that.
get you on tonight. So we'll catch you guys around for the next time. This is Tech Beats and Bytes.
Peace.